Okay friends, so we're back for part 2 of our paper weaving video. By the end of today, we should have something similar to this, although we may finish it up a little bit more than I did here. So, for today's materials, you will need your loom that you made already. You will need your scissors. You will need probably 2 colors of construction paper. And I would suggest a ruler or a straight edge, just because that will make it a little easier, and a pencil. You can see I have 1 full piece of construction paper, and the other one I have already cut up into strips. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you about cutting this one into strips too, because these are what we're going to use for our weaving. So the easiest way to do this will be take your construction paper and fold it in half. And now we got that folded in half. We're going to use our ruler. We're not going to measure with it today. We're just going to use it for the straight edge. So I'm going to put the edge right up against the edge of my paper and draw a line. And then I'm going to do that all the way across. This is just going to be an easy way to see how wide our lines are going to be. And looks like I got a little sliver here, so that's fine. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to cut each of these strips out. Just make sure when you're cutting, you're keeping the pieces shut. All right, so now I have all of my orange, all of my purple, and this is actually going to be enough strips so we could do 2 weavings, because we're only going to use half of them on each one. If it's easier for you, we're going to make a pattern. So if it's easier for you to go on and kind of plan it out, stack them up like that, you can. You don't have to. I'm doing it just to help me out a little bit. So remember, if it's 2 colors or 2 things repeating just one after another, it's an AB pattern. All right, that'll be enough. I'm going to put the rest of mine aside. All right, so now we have all of our strips and our loom. Now, if you'll remember, our loom is split up into lots of little pieces here. And these pieces, these openings, this is called the warp of a loom. The warp is basically the openings on the loom that we're going to weave through. Our paper strips over here, these are going to be called the weft. The weft goes through the warp. Okay, so the most important thing to remember with this is we are going to be going over, under, over, under. So I'm going to start with one of my pieces, and I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to go over this outside edge and then under this next one. And then I'm going to go over and then under. Over, under. So look, I went over this one, under this one, over, under, over, under, over, under. And then my strips are nice and long, so I have plenty of room on both sides. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to try to scoot it down just a little bit, because the tighter we pack these in, the more we can fit. All right, here's the other tricky part. When we start the next one, we have to go under and then over. Basically, the opposite of how we did the first one. As long as we get the beginning of it opposite, it'll stay opposite all the way across, as long as we just do one and then the next one and then the next one. So you can see that this one is different because on both ends, this one's over, this one's under. This one's under, this one's over. So now, if we start our purple one, which way are we going to need to go? You're right, we're going to go over again, because we're starting to make a pattern going up the side too. You can see a pattern across and a pattern up. We should always see a white or a colored square here, but not the construction paper. Now, let me show you a couple things not to do. Make sure when we're going that we don't skip a spot, because look, now we messed up our pattern here. So we're gonna go back and fix this one. Finish this one, going all the way across. And look, make sure we're scooting it down as we go, because the more room we have, the more we can put in. Now let me show you what happens if we do just exactly the same. This one's a wrong example. I'm doing the exact same thing I just did as this last one. So look, first of all, we got these rectangles here instead of squares, but also if we're not careful, these ones are just gonna end up on top of each other. So I'm gonna take that orange one out and I'm gonna fix it. So I started over, I started under, I started over. This one I'm starting under. This might take just a little bit to get the hang of, but once you get it, it's going to be nice and easy to remember, I think. And we can use this. We're learning a simple one today, so we can use it to do more detailed ones later. Remember, we could add other more amounts of colors. We could also change other things about this. And look, you can see my design on my loom is showing through. Remember, I didn't draw a whole picture because I didn't want to cover it up, but a nice little design like that is good. So over, under, over, under. It's like a snake going through the grass. Okay. And I'm pulling them down each time so I can pack some more on there. I'm going to finish this up a little bit quickly so we can look at the next part. As you get towards the top, it may get a little bit trickier, so you may have to kind of guide it through with your fingers in front and behind. And see if I can fit one more in the top here. Let's see. It's not quite gonna fit, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to scoot everything down just a little bit. Oh yeah. So if you kind of use your fingers and sort of push and slide downwards, you're gonna have to do each line at a time, but you might find that you've got a lot of extra room after you do that. Yeah, I think I should definitely have room now. Starting under again. Oh, there we go. And if there's still not quite enough room, you might have to either trim your last piece a little bit or maybe cut those strips up a little higher. I'm gonna have to flip back and forth probably now because this is getting tight. Sometimes if you pull past there, and then you can kind of inch it through like an inchworm. There we go. Pull it all the way again. Oh, there we go. See if I can inch it down again. Remember, we're keeping that pattern all the way. Oh. There we go. Whew. And then just a little bit farther. Okay, so mine's in there really tight. So now it's pretty much done. If I want to clean up these edges some, the easiest thing to do is I can go in and just trim these off. I think I will do that. If you wanted to, and you had some glue, you could glue the little pieces down, but we're gonna have to trim it off anyway, so let's trim it. I'm just gonna go right up the edge, and I'm probably gonna keep these scraps just in case I need them for anything else. Look at that, just trimming off all those little rectangles. Oh yeah, that looks great. Now I'm going to do it on the other side. Oh, I missed one. Missed two. There we go. So if it's packed in there nice and tight, you don't even have to glue. If you want to, like I said, you could just poke the end up, put a little piece of glue here, or a little piece of tape even, and just go up both sides. But there you go. Here is a nice and simple paper weaving. But I think it looks really cool. So y'all, I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, please just let me know. All right, thank you, everybody. And I hope you enjoy this, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.